Hello, and this is a training tutorial for residents of the Ophthalmology program. Today we're going to walk you through how to log your learning experiences using TRES. Let's get right to it. On the navigation bar at the top, under Activities, you'll want to click on Enter New Activity. This will take you to the Activity Entry screen. We're going to walk you through all the various types of activities that we have here. So let's just start with academic. And of course, under academic, the type of things that you may enter are workshops or clinics, perhaps, that you attended, and you can document the topics that were discussed at those clinics or workshops. And we'll show you some of those examples here. Let's just start with the top section. So the date, by default, will start with today's date. And of course, you can change this as well, so you can set it to a date in the past if you like. Let's just go ahead and log an academic activity for today. And we're going to have to select the training center that we were located at. So in this case here, I'm just going to select one of the training centers. And we can also select the attending physician that was part of that session as well. So I'm just going to select one of the examples here in the list. And we can also specify the time spent during that session. So either I can type in the hours and minutes or use the pop-up menu here, and I can select, for example, this took 2 hours and 15 minutes. And again, let me just clear that, and I'm just going to try typing it in. So let's just type in 2 hours and 15 minutes. Perfect. Let's move to the next section. Under description, let's select one of the clinics here, and I'm going to select cornea clinic, and I can type in the topic, and the topic box is just a free-form text field here, so I can type in whatever I like. Under self-evaluation, this is optional, but I can rate what my personal learning was for that particular clinic on a scale of 1 to 5. And you can see as I select different options here, the text underneath changes. And for this particular session, I actually learned quite a lot. So I'm going to say I learned a lot of relevant and useful skills that will help improve my practice. It also explains that I understood the topic that was discussed as well. So once I've done that, I can move to private notes, and private notes is also optional. Any information you enter in private notes is completely private, as the name suggests. It's not shared with your program. It's not shared with any consultants in the system at all. So feel free to enter whatever information you like. And now we can go ahead and save our activity. So I'm going ahead and do that. I'm just going to click Save. All right, and after I click Save, it takes me to the View Activities page. The View Activities page just shows me a list of all the activities I previously entered. You can see some older activities here that I've logged, and there are a few other options on this page that allow you to really search through any activities in the system, and you can filter by all sorts of pieces of data, like the type of academic session you attended and whatnot. And we'll talk a little bit more about the View Activities page in just a couple of moments. But what I want to do is just go through the rest of the activities here with you. So we're going to go once again to the Enter New Activity screen. And we can see on the right-hand side under Recently Saved Activities, it shows you a date stamp for the most recent activity. And I'm just going to select one of the previous activities. And you can actually see here, if you miss any of the required fields, it will ask you to enter something. So in this case, I didn't put in the training center. So let me just go ahead and add the training center. And I'm just going to click Save and New. So the Save and New option will create a new activity based on the one that you previously entered. So because we were working with an academic activity, it's going to create a brand new academic activity form. And you'll see here that it does remember certain fields that you've entered. So for example, the attending physician or the description, it does remember the last thing that you selected. And the reason for that is just to basically speed things up. There may be a common description that you enter frequently. Perhaps you attend a certain type of clinic on a frequent basis. It will remember that just to speed things up a little bit. So that's what Save and New does. So I'm actually just going to go back to the previous activity that I had entered, and we're going to show you the Save and Duplicate option. So let me just go ahead and enter some text in here. And I'm going to click Save and Duplicate. So just as the name suggests, it creates an exact duplicate of the activity that you entered. So any information you enter in there will be duplicated. And this is actually very handy if you need to enter multiple activities in a row and you don't necessarily want to have to repeat yourself and enter the same information over and over again. So you can see now at the top of the page here, it does remind me that this is a duplicated activity, and that it's retained all of the values from the previous activity. So you can see here everything from the training center to the attending physician, description and topic, all of that information was saved. So that's pretty handy. And of course, if I want to change anything, I can just go in here and select a different description. So perhaps this is a plastic clinic that I attended. And I can go ahead and save that as well. So I'm actually just going to click Save and New. And now that we've showed you the academic activity, I just want to move on and show you the clinic. So if we switch to the clinic activity, you can see here that some of the fields change. So the top section here under activity setting will remain mostly the same. So we'll have to select the training center. So let's go ahead and do that. And our attending physician, I'm going to leave as the same person. And the description, let's go ahead and change this to a different clinic. And now I can select a diagnostic procedure, and you'll see the procedures are actually broken down by R1, R2, R3, or R4, and those are the different training levels. And as I expand those categories, you can see that the diagnostic procedures somewhat change here. Now, for the type of procedure you are looking for, you can just scroll through the list to find it, and you can just click on that procedure to select it. And you can also add more than one procedure. So I can add a multiple of 5 procedures at a time here. And as soon as I add 5, it just automatically inserts those procedures below. And deleting them is just as easy as clicking the X button. Okay. And you can also use the type to search feature, which works basically like a Google search. So just as it suggests, we can click inside the field and just type in the name of the procedure that we're looking for. So as soon as I type in 2 or 3 letters, it automatically suggests the procedure. So I was looking for color vision, so I only had to type in 3 letters for it to find it. And I can either use my mouse or just use my up and down arrows on my keyboard. Personally, I'm a keyboard shortcut person, so I like to just use my keyboard shortcuts. So I can just hit enter and select that procedure. So there it is. All right, now for the clinic activity, we are required to declare our attendance. So I'm just going to say I was on time for this particular clinic. I can even specify the number of patients that I saw in this particular experience. So let's just say that this was I saw 2 patients. So just type in the number there. Pretty simple to do. And of course, the self-evaluation section, I can give myself a rating on a scale of 1 to 5 on how competent I felt in that particular instance. Now, this is completely optional, but it is recommended that you fill this out as well. It's also great for historical reasons if you ever want to go back and, as you progress through your training, you may want to see if your level of competence, improved over time. So those are interesting things to see. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill that out. And private notes, once again, it's always visible at the bottom of the activity form. You can fill it in if you like. It's completely optional. All right, so let's just click Save and New. That's our first clinic activity. And now what we're going to want to do is actually log a procedure. So let's just switch this activity to a procedure. So once again, when I switch to procedure, you see that the fields have changed on the form. So now we have a procedures and a diagnoses field and a few other procedure related fields for the particular patient. So we can capture the anesthesia level and any complications that arose during the procedure, as well as some patient related information like their age and the role that you played. And we'll go through that in just a second here. So let's again start with today's date. And let's just select a different location here. I'm going to select a different training center. I'm going to leave the attending physician the same as well. And now let's go ahead and fill in the patient interaction section. So I'm just going to log a particular procedure for cataract here. So let's go ahead and select that. And we can even select the diagnosis as well. And of course, just like procedures, we can select more than one diagnosis as well. So let's just go ahead and select the one diagnosis. And we can specify the anesthesia. I'm just going to select it was local, and any complications as well. So let's just go ahead and select one complication. All right, so now it's time to fill out some patient-specific information. So I'm going to say that this was an adult 12 years or older. And for the role, you'll want to specify, what exactly you did in that instance. So, for example, you may have performed 75% or more of the procedure. So that's basically a majority of the work done by you, or perhaps you were a teacher in that instance. But in this example here, I actually performed more than 75% of the procedure. So I'm just going to select that option there. And once again, on the procedure form, we are required to declare our attendance. So I will select I was on time as well. And under self-evaluation, once again, I can select the level of competence I felt for that particular procedure. I would say it's pretty important to track that information, but once again, it is optional as well. So I'm pretty confident with my abilities. I felt that I was able to perform that pretty independently without supervision. So I'm going to select 5. And now I'm ready to save my activity. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so after saving the activity, it takes us to the activities page. And we looked at the view activities page briefly a little bit earlier, but I wanted to go into more detail about that now. So how you get to this page is just by going to the activities drop-down menu, and you can select view activities. And there are basically 2 sections here. So we have our filters and we have our activities. Okay, so if I wanted to find a particular activity, I can just use the date filters to filter by the time span. And I can also further filter by the activity type. So for example, if I only wanted to pull up all of the procedures I've ever done, I can filter by the procedure activity. So let's just try that. So I'm going to click Find Activity. So it found 3 different types of procedures. So that's one way to filter your data. And you can just play around with these filters as well. Now, in my particular account, I've added very specific filters to this page. You can actually completely customize the filters and any information on this page. And to do that, on the right-hand side, you'll see Customize Filters. So if you click on that button, so here on this page, you can actually just turn off or on any of these particular filters. So for example, let's just try switching off a few. So for example, maybe I want to remove the diagnosis option, and perhaps I will want to add topic or the procedures filter as well. So let's just add some of those and click Done. All right, so now we have different filters on the filters page. So you can see now that I've added procedures, I can actually go in and filter by the particular procedure. So it gets very specific. If you want to find an activity where you know you did a particular procedure on a patient, you can find those exact activities pretty easily. So that's how you use the filters. And, if you do end up using the private notes option, you can search just by typing in the text. So if there's a particular note that you had written in one of the activities, you can easily just search for that text as well. So on the bottom section on your activities page, you can just click the edit button and edit any previous activity. So for example, you may have an incomplete activity that you want to go back and finish. You can do that as well. You can also organize the data on this page a little bit differently. So all of the activities are organized by the date, but you can change the sort order as well just by clicking on those columns like I'm doing now. And you can also reorder these columns just by clicking on the column and dragging it to a different spot. I'll show you that now. So let's just try that again just so you get it. So I'm going to click description and just drag it. And let's try dragging roll. So you can see it's pretty easy just dragging and dropping the columns. Now, of course, I can also customize the columns displayed on this page. So if there's different types of information I want to see, I can just click the customize columns button right here. And it's very similar to setting up your filters. So we could just drag and drop the columns that we want to have displayed on that particular page. So for example, I can remove any of the filters that are currently in the visible column area. So let's just try removing that. And let's just see. I'm going to remove description. And I can also just click on any of these options and just drag and drop. So it's very easy to change the order of that information as well. All right. Now I can also add one of the columns that are not currently included. So for example, perhaps I would want to add the training center column. I can easily do that. And I can click the arrow button once I select it to drag it and move it. Or I can just click on the item itself and just move it into that area. It's pretty simple to do. So once I'm happy with the columns, I can click done. And now you can see the data displayed in the bottom half of the section here is a little bit different. So now we have the procedures, and if I scroll over, you can see role. So I did remove description, so now it's not showing up here anymore. So again, that's just another way of really filtering through your data, looking at it in another way. So let's show you how to edit an existing activity. So I'm just going to go back. I'm going to try editing one of the activities I logged on May 20th. So let's do that now. So all you have to do is just click edit. And of course, I can just change any of the information here or just add a new procedure. So it's very, very simple to modify any activity that you enter. So now that I've made some changes here, we should probably save our work. So let's go ahead and click save. And again, if you miss any information like anesthesia, which is required, it will ask you to enter that information. So let's just go ahead and click save. All right, so now we've gone through all the various types of activity forms in your program. We've looked at how to track all that information. We've looked at how to pull up existing activities, and we've also talked about how to modify the activities page so that it's customized to your own tastes. And one other thing that you'll also see on the activities page is an evaluations tab. So if your program is using the evaluations feature, what that means is that any activities that you log in the system, a consultant may look at those activities and evaluate them. So you can see in my own account here, if I switch to evaluations, any evaluations that have been assigned to a consultant will show up on this page, and you can see I have a bunch of activities that say pending, and you can see the attending physician's name in here. So these have not been completed. However, if somebody does complete an evaluation, you would be able to look at that evaluation and look at the results of that completed evaluation. So let's just go back to the activities page here. So that's the activities page, and that is just a quick overview of how to capture your learning experiences using TRES. A few other things we'll just point out in your account here that you should know about. You will find links to our native mobile apps just by clicking on that button at the top. So you'll find links to our iPhone, our Android app, as well as our BlackBerry app. So it's pretty useful. We do recommend that you download those. They are completely free to use, and you basically have the same experience that you do on the web. You can log your activities very easily using your smartphone. Under the Help menu, you'll find access to your account preferences. And in preferences, you can do things like change your password, update your name and email address, and any other account related information. We do recommend that you keep your email address up to date. So if you do plan on changing your email address, please do make sure you update that information. Otherwise, if you run into a scenario where you forget your password, for example, you will not be able to reset your password without a valid email address. So that's just something to keep in mind. And under the Help menu, you'll also find links to FAQs. Those are frequently asked questions, troubleshooting guides, as well as links to tutorials. So a lot of the stuff that we cover today will be in our knowledge base. So there's lots of great resources to read up on in case you get stuck at any point. You'll also be able to contact us for support as well. We're available by phone. We're also available by email as well, and we do encourage you to contact us if you have any questions or need assistance. And that is all for today. Thank you for joining us.